Donald Trump wants to devalue U.S. currency. The reason why Donald Trump wants to devalue U.S. currency is because when U.S. currency is too high as in comparison to other currencies, then you are going to have an import economy. You're not going to have an export economy. You're going to have a fat trade deficit, and slowly but surely over year, you're just not going to manufacture stuff here anymore, because even if you were manufacturing goods that other countries would want, it's far too costly for them to purchase those goods, because the reality of the matter is the dollar is way more powerful. The dollar is way more powerful than any other currency. Part of the way that countries do this is by, purchasing dollars. Okay, that is one of the ways that they engage in. I guess some might call it currency manipulation, but I don't think it is. But some of the other ways in which you do this is also by making your manufacturing, specifically your labor, as devalued as possible, as cheap as possible, so you become a exporter or you maintain your manufacturing capabilities. Germany has done this through the euro, and every other country has basically done a version of this. And that's what Donald Trump claims is cheating. Now, a lot of these concepts, I'm going to be switching and using some terminology fast and loose. A lot of these concepts that Donald Trump is claiming is happening, where he says is cheating, is not cheating. It's a system that we designed. We're the United States of America. This is literally what we designed. We wanted these other countries to actually serve us and in many circumstances basically rely on slave labor to be able to get cheap, accessible commodities, okay? Cheap, affordable commodities. We designed it this way. We built the entire global financial system this way, and we accelerated it after, removing the gold standard. This was, there were multiple market shocks in the process, but this is our thing. This is our thing. This is our grand design. And now Donald Trump is saying, I don't like this grand design. It's been cooking America's manufacturing capabilities. Now, of course, he doesn't care about the labor aspect of it. That's just a way to promote it to the working class, to be like, no, we're going to bring manufacturing jobs back here. It's going to be great. That is just the seasoning. The real thing that Donald Trump cares about, on the other hand, is manufacturing. Because manufacturing does not exist in the United States of America, and that we are over-reliant on China and also secondary markets that China has created, Donald Trump sees this, as well as Barack Obama did, as well as Joe Biden did, as well as every other American government leadership did, every other American administration did, as a massive national security concern. That's what the problem is. That's what they want to do. The trade surplus or the trade deficit issue is simply America's not manufacturing because American currency is too expensive. And also simultaneously, this is a major threat because if China were to one day, we want to go to war with China, one day they just shut off the faucet of manufacturing, we're cooked. We're left out with our dicks out, pissing against the wind. So that's precisely the reason why America cares about moving manufacturing back to the United States. It's a matter of national security. It has nothing to do with labor. It has nothing to do with good paying jobs. It has nothing to do with anything. Okay? And a part of that process means you have to get other countries by force to devalue the US dollar against their currency. You have to make their currency purchasing power higher. Okay? That is part of what Yanis Varoufakis was claiming, because you can't do that. If you don't do that, you can't get any manufacturing. You can't fix your trade deficit because these countries don't have money to purchase American-made products. So, on that aspect, there is a method to the madness. Okay? Hudson Bay Capital paper written by, in November 2024, by the way. This is the method. This is the madness. Stephen Moran wrote about it in November 2024. A user's guide to restructuring the global trading system. This is the blueprint. Do not listen to Peter Navarro. Do not listen to Howard Lutnick. Do not listen to Scott Bessent. Do not listen to any of these other guys. Don't listen to Donald Trump. This is the guy. This is the blueprint. This is the method. And they're following it to a T. Okay? And don't listen to Ron Vera either. Ron Vera. Okay, maybe you can listen to Ron Vera. That's kind of funny. And I mentioned this before. I told you all about, this being the 5-point plan. And it seems like last night's initiative, starting off with with Chinese market moves that took place is moving the United States in that direction, which means there's going to be massive instability and America is going to become a poorer nation overall. America's purchasing power is going to lower overall in the interim. So I think Donald Trump is burning the candle from both ends and cooking the United States of America. And I will tell you exactly why. While the initiative and the 5-point plan that they've designed is insane, selfish, it's also short-sighted and will lead to economic turmoil. Okay? I don't think that Donald Trump is going to be able to get his desires across and instead is going to f this up. Don't listen to them, but they're using what you're saying to listen to. Wait, what? No, I'm saying that if you listen to Howard Lutnick or Scott Bessent or Donald Trump, you are going to be confused because the real thing that they are, the real guiding principle behind what they are trying to do, the actual moves that they're making right now are written by this guy, Stephen Moran. Now, let's get started with the stock surge as Trump announces 90-day pause on some tariffs, and then I will get back to what I'm talking about as well, okay?
This is an ABC.
Also, 125% tariff on China is irrelevant, okay? Because once you hit like 30% tariffs or 40% tariffs on China, it's over, okay? You've already severed ties with China in terms of trade. The difference between 85% tariffs on China and 125% tariffs on China is nothing. It is negligible. The reason why it's negligible is because you've already maxed out on the tariffs. You've already severed ties. Ain't nobody is going, I desperately need this thing from China. I'm going to go and get it. And now I'm going to have to pay extra. Like, it's just not a thing, okay? It's functionally a trade embargo. You know, you might as well say we're going to put 1,000,000% tariff on China. It's done. You are enforcing a trade embargo by way of tariffs.
ABC News special report.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. We're coming on the air because President Trump has announced a 90-day pause on tariffs against most nations while raising tariffs against China. The markets have jumped on the news right now. We're seeing the Dow up about 2,000 points. The president posted on social media saying, quote, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world markets, I'm hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the United States of America to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. The president went on to say that based on the fact that more than 75 countries have reached out to the U.S. to negotiate, he is putting a 90-day pause on most other tariffs. I want to bring in our ABC senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, at the White House, where we just heard from the press secretary and the Treasury Secretary, on this. Rachel, how are they saying this is going to work now?
It's pussy time.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, as well as the press secretary Caroline Leavitt, are speaking to reporters right now here at the White House.
That's right. That's right. He folded. He folded. Some might say, excellent 5D chess move, Mr. President. He folded. Coward. He said, panicking. I'm panicking. I'm a panican alert. I'm a panicanian myself. I folded. I folded.
Trying to explain how the administration is going forward on this. So just the headline here, the president was asked about whether or not he was going to do a 90-day pause just days ago by our own Mary Bruce. He said at this time it was not something that he is considering. Now the president is going forward with that 90-day pause. For most of our trading partners, it will be at 10%. For everyone else but China. China, the tariffs are now rising to 125%. The White House is insisting that 75 countries have come to the table, have reached out to this administration and the White House to continue these negotiations. It is very notable that China really not a part of those discussions right now. You see this tit for tat between the United States and China as this trade war between us and one of our largest trading partners is now escalating. But the bottom line here, Diane, the president is pulling back on some of those retaliatory tariffs that he initially announced just days ago, Diane.
And I want to bring in Whit Johnson, who spent the morning on the New York Stock Exchange. Whit, this is at least partially the news that so many investors were hoping to hear.
This is exactly what people were asking for. The one thing that's sort of missing in all of this is the clarity.
Dude, I'm done. I'm done with the media. I'm done with Donald Trump. I'm done with the dumbass Americans. I think we deserve this destruction, okay? Because Donald Trump did the same thing he always does. He broke something. Everybody went, "What are you doing? You are killing my children." And then he turned around and was like, "I'm not fixing it. I'm not fixing it." And then when push came to shove, he was like, "Okay, I won't break it any further. I'll break it only a little bit." And now everyone's like, "Brilliant chess move, Mr. President. What the are we doing? What are we doing?" Oh, finally, a brief respite that everyone was demanding. Finally, the markets will breathe again. And it's like, dude, none of this had to happen. What the are we talking about? This has literally been the exact same thing that Trump did his first administration. He did it in this first 10-year. Term 1, he did this exact same shit. Term 2, he's doing the exact same thing. And he's done it over and over again in the past 3 months. Okay? It is so psychotic. I cannot comprehend how these people are so delusional, how they have deluded themselves. I make a stupid decision, something really bad happens. I convince my followers the problem is now magically solved. I reverse my decision. I make a stupid decision again. It's that. This is what's happening. Yeah, biggest one-day gain for NASDAQ since 10/13/2008. This is why I hate the stock market. It is fake. It's not real. Money is not real. Don't tell me the stock market is real, okay? It is so fake. It's the most fake of all time. It is the most fake of all time, dude. Holy moly. That's why I kept stressing the importance that, like, your 401ks diminishing is consequential, certainly. But what is more important here is the potential for layoffs. It's an indicator of the economy getting worse because the stock market gains are privatized at the tippy top, but the losses are socialized. This is precisely the reason why when it's doing well, you're not necessarily doing great, okay? But when it's doing poorly, you will suffer. Yeah, this is the meme. I'm adding tariffs. This will create jobs. I'm removing tariffs. Art of the deal. I'm adding tariffs. This will create jobs. I'm removing tariffs. Art of the deal. I can't stand these people. I can't stand the stupidity of Trump supporters and Trump dick riders in the media that are constantly going, "Oh, the market's green again. It's just stupid. Oh, we did it." Okay, yesterday you said the market was red, but it's inconsequential. Today it's green. Yesterday you said the tariffs are good. Today you're saying art of the deal, baby. Trump removed the tariffs. You have nothing. You're just responding to stimuli. You're like a sea cucumber, dude. You have the processing power of a barely functional, barely living organism. You're like a vegetable. I don't know. I don't know how to have a conversation with people like this. I don't know. It's so stupid. And by the way, the pain is not done. It's not over. The destabilization will continue. Also, this is a pause on the tariffs that were going in place today. There's like 10% on every country plus 125% on China. Like companies are still getting exactly. I'm gonna be talking about all of that in a second. I just think it's funny that the market rallies so easily to be like, "Oh, thank God he didn't over that hard. Oh my God. Oh, I thought he was gonna do it." It's like, okay. Oh, he's not doing it. Oh, thank God. Dummies.
And the specifics. Obviously, we have the 90-day pause. There's some time for investors to digest. But what's interesting with the 90-day is that's what basically people have been calling on the president to ask for. This morning, we heard from Bill Ackman, who's a billionaire, who's a longtime supporter of Donald Trump's, who came out publicly warning about the effects of these tariffs. He put out in a statement on X earlier in the day calling for specifically a 90-day pause. We also saw Jamie Dimon with JP Morgan, who had been talking about the increased likelihood of a recession. So we see all of these people who President Trump knows very well, who'd been calling for this pause. We saw the markets reacting, hanging on every.
Asman says he's brilliant and China needs to play ball. I'm going to Brian kill me. I'm sorry.
Single word from the president, but this gives them time to figure out what's going to happen next. Now, one thing that we did see this morning, which I think for people from the outside looking in, it was a little bit confusing. Why did, after the tariffs were announced overnight, why did the markets kind of go up and down, up and down? And it seemed as if from some of the traders that I was talking to, they were suggesting that some of the concern had sort of been baked in the previous 4 days where we saw those massive declines. I mean, up to $6 trillion, in the S&P alone. And so they were waiting. And that's why you're seeing it going up and down. Every little piece of news, every little hint from the administration about a negotiation, maybe some.
You should debate Asman. I would love to do that. He's the one who would never do that. Okay, I'm down to do it.
Optimism, people were jumping in or people were jumping out. But this was that thing that they had been waiting for. But one piece of caution here, based on what I'm being told, is that, look, it's not over yet. You still have this escalating trade war between the U.S. and China. That's going to have a massive ripple effect. And so what does that mean? We don't know, but still some at least temporary good news when it comes to investors.
And let's dig a little deeper into that ripple effect with our chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis. Rebecca, 90-day pause on most of these tariffs on the one hand, increased tariffs 125% on China. What does that mean for consumers?
Well, first of all, it's a stunning reversal. Just a week ago, the President Trump dubbed it Liberation Day and rolled out.
Bro, it's crazy. I sent an email to Ad Fontes Media about their buy shot and asked why you were so low on the accuracy scale. They replied in depth. Do you have an email I can send the reply to? They asked for the reply if I wanted to submit better quotes. Yeah, send it to Hasan at night.co. Hasan at night.co. Stocky said, you should have the stock guy on your stream. He said you have no idea what you're talking about when discussing the stock market. Wait, what is he saying about the is he pro Trump? So ain't no way. I don't think I am in disagreement with Stocky at all on this stuff. Him and his chat talk about you constantly. Wait, first of all, there's no way he likes Donald Trump. That's number one. Y'all are delusional if you think that he likes Donald Trump. Number two, in terms of anybody trying to make anybody trying to come up with like what the reason is for why Trump is doing this kind of thing, it has nothing to do with market fundamentals. It has nothing to do with understanding micro or macroeconomics. It has nothing to do with finance whatsoever, because Donald Trump and his admin are not moving in that way, demonstrably so. Look at the impact that it's had on the stock market. The reading the tea leaves is happening for every single person, and I would go so far as to say that I have a better assessment on what the Trump administration has been trying to do than most of the analysts that you've seen, because I cover a broad swath of different opinions here on this broadcast. So there's no one has the perfect answers, myself included. But in terms of like making sense of the senseless here with respect to what Donald Trump and his administration has done, I think that I have a pretty solid assessment. I think it's just simply a easy way to say like, oh, no one else knows what the fuck is going on here. Neither Asman nor Hasan know what the fuck they're talking about. And I'm the one who knows everything. I don't know. It's just a way to like, I think, present yourself as the most knowledgeable. And he is certainly more knowledgeable on the stock market than I am. I'm not knowledgeable at all on the stock market. I don't even have a credit card. Okay. Let's be real. I think that chatter just simply wants to do drama stuff. Yeah. But anybody that tells you exactly what's happening, and anybody that can tell you like that, and I don't even think that Stocky would say that regardless right now, especially because of the obvious instability and the impact that it's had on the stock market. Anybody that tells you they know what the fuck is going to happen next is lying to you. Okay. Why don't you have a credit card? I'm a madman.
All of these so-called reciprocal tariffs, and now there's a 90-day pause on the majority of them, except for on China. First of all, those sources I'm talking to on Wall Street have anticipated that a lot of this has been with the idea of isolating China. And you even heard from the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who's speaking right now.
I don't have bad credit. I own a house, chat.
Early only countries who have come and
great
spoken
credit.
to the United States, the likes of Vietnam, South Korea, India, Japan, countries that might have aligned themselves with China are going to be included in this 90-day pause. That said, China is still a very, very important trading partner with the United States. They export about $440 billion worth of goods here to the United States. A number of small businesses and big businesses rely on China, and it appears that things are continuing to escalate there with part of this directive, including that increased tariff on Chinese goods that are coming here to the United States. So when it comes to those items like clothes, shoes, toys, electronics, some furniture that are coming here from China, when we've been talking about these possible price increases if the tariffs are to stay in effect, that is still on the table. Those price increases are still on the table, and anything that's coming from China, whether it's already left.
By the way, Donald Trump did, I think, clear market manipulation. That's the other side of this as well, because he, one, opened up the tariff faucet, literally tanked the entire global stock, the entirety of global trade and the New York Stock Exchange. And then right before he unveiled that he was going to put a pause on the tariffs, that is the reason why there was so much market volatility and the lack of consumer confidence led to people selling their he said, bye. Like, bye. It's time to buy. One of the most insane things I have ever seen. Goldman Sachs rescinds recession call after Trump tariff pause. It is, I mean, dude, the graft is in broad daylight. It's out in the open. Money is fake, and these guys are just making fun of you, I think. They're doing coin stuff, dude. Do you know how crazy this sequence is? Yeah, look at this. Great time to buy DJT on Donald Trump's Truth Social at 9:37 a.m. Couple hours later, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States of America to 125%, effective immediately. Okay? But that's not the point. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Boom! Stock market goes crazy. People are doing victory laps. They're like, I've never nutted this hard. Thank you, Mr. President. You gave us the brief respite we needed. Money is so fake. I love fake money. That's basically what happened. I love how fake the money is. Make it more fake. Masterful gambit, sir. None of this makes any sense. It does. It's just like, it makes sense if you just look at it as we have outward in broad daylight graft and seemingly no interest in putting an end to it. Okay. We are at the mercy of a psychotic madman who has no interest in making changes happen in the least painful way possible. It's very clear. It is very clear that nobody cares about anything, and things are only going to get worse. In a year's time, Republicans are going to talk about how April 9th, 2025 was one of the greatest days in the stock market history because of Trump. Yes. Yeah, already Goldman Sachs has rescinded the recession call after Trump trade tariff pause. Okay? So countries that were going to get 5 tariff like Turkey. They don't have tariff. Wait, no. Countries are still getting tariffed. There is still going to be an extra entry fee. There's still going to be inflation. It's just not going to be potentially hyperinflation. Okay? That's it. That's the only thing that we are, I guess, avoiding, at least for the time being. There are still many issues, however. Truna says, great news. Resuming plans to close numerous manufacturing facilities in the Midwest and move all production to Vietnam and India. Me too. I am no longer working with union-made domestic manufacturing. Now that Donald Trump, the glorious president, revoked the tariffs, I'm going back to Vietnam, baby. I'm going to Vietnam. Okay? So I don't think the recession, I don't know if the recession is called off or not. We'll talk about that in a second. But considering that the Chinese tariffs are still in place and he has increased them, which is negligible. It's inconsequential at this point because once he already maxed out on the tariffs, doesn't matter if he's doing 125%. You know what I mean? The difference between 104% and 125% is nothing. It's just there's no trade happening at that point. It is functionally a trade embargo that you have placed upon China. Now, of course, the interesting part about it is that China doesn't just directly manufacture things at this point. They also manufacture in Vietnam, in other countries. So, you know, it doesn't really, you know, there's still ways in which America will still get Chinese manufacturing. It'll just be at a higher cost from a secondary market. So we got that, but also here's CoffeeZilla once again, slowly but surely losing his mind. Trump front ran his own announcement to pause tariffs by saying it's a great time to buy 3 hours before huge news for stocks hit. This is levels of insanity we've never seen before. I think it's really funny that slowly but surely, CoffeeZilla, over years of covering pure corruption within the cryptocurrency circles and recognizing that the exact same style of corruption, both for the cryptocurrency circles and for the regular stock market, is happening under the Trump administration. He's becoming like a radicalized Marxist-Leninist vanguardist, I think, by the end of this process. Every day that goes by, I see another tweet from him going, what the f is happening? How is this allowed? Amazing. Great time to buy. I'm going to do something freaky with the tariffs. If you believed his buy message and bought 100K of NVIDIA calls, you would have made 1.3 million. Yeah. Does this feel as Nixonian madman theory to you as it does to me? Really starting to feel like Trump team thinks this is the strategic direction? Maybe. Probably. Listen, we got more. We got more on this. I have so much to talk about. And these are some of the... This is barely the... part that is this is negligible stuff. We got so much more to talk. Possible scenario: one stupid tweet spreads baseless rumor of 90-day tariff pause, causing number to go up. Wall Street learns tweet was fake news, so number go down. Trump, seeing a 90-day pause made number go up, claims credit for idea and announces a 90-day pause. This was, of course, 2 days ago by Tyler Austin Harper, and he was right. That is precisely what happened. Did Trump do this tariff pause on pause for his rich buddies to buy the dip? No. I will tell you what I mean by this, okay? I will tell you what I mean by this. Is there insider trading that he's doing? I guess it's not even insider trading at this point. It's outsider trading. Weirdly enough, it's insider trading, but also being done on the outside. There's no shadowy backroom deal at this point. I'm sure that also happens, but like it's very obvious that he's just like, yeah, no, we're doing this thing. Having said that, as I've told you before, this, like what just took place in terms of, rich people probably buying the dip, right? And making out a lot, gangbusters style in this process, like a nice little pump and dump. Okay. That is just what will happen regardless. Okay. That's not the actual intention. That's not the actual intention of Trump's madness here. But there is a method to the madness regardless, and I will describe it to you in a moment. Okay? I will get to that in a second. Let's finish this piece, and then I'll talk about what Donald Trump is trying to do and why it will still fail Let's
a ship
continue.
in the water, they will still face at U.S. Customs those higher tariffs. And as we reported over and over again, generally speaking, what companies do is they pay that higher tariff. U.S. companies pay that higher tariff at the border as the goods come here and then pass it off to consumers.
All right, Rachel, Rebecca Witt, thank you. And we will continue to watch closely. The market's now up a little more than 2,000 on the Dow, and we will continue to monitor action at the White House on this as well. Our coverage continues on ABC News Live and abcnews.com. And David Muir will be back tonight with the entire team of.
Oh yeah, here comes the press secretary and the.
There's something really funny. Are the tariffs over? For the time being, the universal tariffs are over. They're done. Okay. Will they come back? Nobody knows. Most likely it will, because Trump is crazy. But as far as the Chinese tariffs, they are still very much in play. They are not over. Okay. It is far from over. It is far from over. Okay. They're not done. They're reduced to 10%. Exactly. So there will still be an increase in prices. There will still be an increase in prices. There will still be market volatility. The only reason why the markets are reacting to this in a positive way is because Donald Trump went in and said he was going to kill everyone and then turned around with a gun, with a loaded gun, started shooting people, and then stopped at like shooting 3 people and said, okay, everyone else is free. Yeah, before Donald Trump came into the room, you had a sense of safety. After he came into the room with a loaded gun and started killing people, you were like in a moment of panic. You were like, oh my God, he's going to kill everyone. He's insane. And now that he stopped killing, now that he stopped the killing at like 3 people, okay, and is threatening with the loaded gun to kill the rest of the Chinese people in the room, I guess, everyone's like, oh, thank God. Okay, we're free. At least we're free. Holy f. So now they feel much better. They feel much better overall than they did maybe while Donald Trump was killing people. But they don't necessarily feel better overall than when they did before Donald Trump entered the room with a loaded gun. Anyway, here's Donaldo in front of the White House with NASCAR racing champions. Just having a fun time, dude. Just having a fun go at it. Why not?
Thank you very much, everybody. We have a very special day for a lot of reasons, actually, if you really think about it.
Now, one of the funniest parts about all of this, of course, is that the Republicans that spent every moment trying to tell you how good universal tariffs are in application are now turning back and saying, brilliant move, sir. Thank you for taking away these awful tariffs. You are the king. Okay? Every single one of these guys that kept repeating over and over again that like these tariffs are the best thing that has ever happened to American trade, American manufacturing, are now turning around and stating that actually, thank God, Donald Trump removed those tariffs. Here it is. Okay, let's look at this. Fox News tells the story of a small business owner who used to pay $26,000 in tariffs on goods imported from China, but now faces a $346,000 tariff due to Trump's 104% tariff on Chinese imports. Okay, let's take a look at what this story looks like.
Exclusive story, and it talks about how with these 104% tariffs that went into effect.
This is still in effect, by the way. This is still going to cook a bunch of businesses.
You know, we think that
poor Sean Fain now has to change his stance again. No, you misunderstand what Sean Fain is saying in terms of trade protectionism. If you think that he is just simply responding to Donald Trump and trying to play and simply defending Donald Trump's decisions, that's not what's happening. The UAW's position on trade protectionism is built around is built around wanting to maintain domestic manufacturing. Ironically enough, I think it's also still short-sighted. No, I don't think this chatter means Sean O'Brien. He means Sean Fain, who is the union leader of the UAW. Now, Sean Fain and the UAW's communication on these tariffs has been overall positive, cautious but optimistic. Okay? Cautious but optimistic. part of the reason why it's cautious but optimistic is because they're not for free trade. It's understandable. It's understandable that they would be anti-free trade. It's understandable that they would be pro-trade protectionism. I've talked about this already. The issue that I have with the ways in which Donald Trump has applied these broad tariffs is, of course, the reason why he did that is because, or the ways in which he did this insane thing was damaging to the global economy and damaging to even domestic manufacturing as well. It was damaging to domestic manufacturing because there's still a shit ton of parts that come from outside of the United States of America when you're manufacturing and assembling a vehicle in the United States of America. So obviously companies would start signaling layoffs in the process if these tariffs were implemented, because you can't do trade protectionism if you don't have the manufacturing hub that was built ahead of time. Okay?
China is going to have to pay for it, but it tells a story of a special needs toy importer. And when the tariffs went into effect at midnight, his tariff, he's been paying a tariff because he gets stuff from China, $26,000 a year. His tariff bill went from $26,000 at midnight to $300.
Wait, I don't get it. I thought that China would pay for it. Why is Fox News telling me that China will pay for the tariffs yesterday and then telling me today that actually it's an American small business owner that will pay for it? What's really funny about this, dog, please stop spamming. What's your solution on Israel and Palestine? And what would you hope would happen? And how do you remove apartheid? Also explain Taiwan and China. Who do you support? Can you explain some economics and books that I should read and learn more? Why did you personally choose socialism? Chatter, I love that you're curious, okay? I love that you're curious, but please stop spamming. I'm not going to literally stop covering the most consequential issue right now, the most newsworthy issue right now, and just take a sidestep to just describe to you all of these concepts, dude. Oh my God. That's crazy. Let's get back to Fox News.
$46,000. And that's money he's going to have to come out of his pocket. It sounds like he's going to have to go ahead and close down part of his business. He tried to make the toys in the United States, but the tariff on that, his most popular item, went from $0 to $17 at midnight. And what he told the New York Post is people don't understand the tariff situation. They think just foreign countries are paying for the tariffs. That's not true. Half of the tariffs are being paid for by U.S.-based companies. Yeah. So when you look at the big numbers and they look good, just remember that according to this guy, half of the small businesses and half of the tariffs are being paid by Americans.
Well, wait. That's only if Chinese manufacturers reduce their prices on their end.